Hello everyone, my name is Chris and welcome back to another movie review. Today I'm gonna be reviewing The Suicide Squad, and as usual I'm quickly gonna go through the story of this movie to tell in short what this movie is all about. Then I'm gonna share my own opinions and thoughts about this movie, so in case you didn't watch it, one big spoiler alert across the screen, and yeah, just click away from this video to avoid spoilers and come back after you watch a movie if you want to, guys. If you don't want to, you don't have to, it's totally fine, but if you really are interested in my opinions and thoughts about this movie right now, then stay with me till the end of this video and let's get started. Alright guys, The Suicide Squad is a movie that's been released this year, and it's yet another DC movie about characters from DC comic books, and this is actually a sequel to first Suicide Squad movie from 2016 that was, by the way, terrible and I didn't like it at all almost. So this time again we follow a different group of villains from DC comic books, and they are sent on a mission to neutralize some threat, and this mission is being led again by this lady that runs that prison facility or whatever where those criminals are imprisoned. And if they complete a mission, in return she will reduce their sentence or something. She will reward them in some way. And at first some of the characters don't want to do it, but of course she always finds a way to blackmail them and they have to do it. So they decide to team up and start the mission, and on the mission they bring this guy from the first movie as well, so he's kind of helping them on the way to like make sure they don't run away or something. If they try to run away, they will trigger the explosive that was implemented in their necks and just blow their heads off, just like in the first movie. So this time they're supposed to breach inside of this laboratory and destroy all the evidence of Project Starfish. And Project Starfish is actually some sort of alien creature that looks like a starfish with one eye, and it was captured and imprisoned in that lab, and they were running some tests on it, and there is this one guy who has his kind of weird things inside of his brain and head, and they need to capture him because he's the only one who can control that creature and get them inside of the lab actually. So they break into the lab later in the movie and figure out that this creature is actually releasing smaller starfishes, which are like basically face huggers. They jump on other people's faces and kill them instantly, but the body kind of feels it's still alive because it has that starfish on the face, but it's actually being controlled by that giant mother starfish that grows bigger and bigger as it feeds on other people's faces, and like it just grows into a bigger monster. And eventually this monster grows so big that it escapes the lab, and then the Suicide Squad decides to kill the monster and save the world. And in short, that's what happens in this movie, and that's what this movie is all about. Now, my opinions about it are pretty impressive actually, because I was impressed by this movie. I expected this movie to be yet another shitty DC movie because Marvel has way better movies in my opinion than DC. There is rarely any DC movies that I liked, and luckily The Suicide Squad is one of them. They actually fixed everything that I was annoyed by in the first movie. And the first thing that you're gonna notice when you start watching this movie is that they actually decided to add violence in this movie. So yes, in this movie you follow a bunch of bad guys, just like in the first movie. They're all criminals that killed hundreds of people and did horrible things to other people. And what I was really annoyed by in the first movie is that there is no violence. Like, you're watching group of most evil characters in DC comics, and they're like, they don't feel like villains. They just kill all these creatures or whatever they were fighting in the first movie, and they just fight and all that, and there is no violence, there is no brutality or whatever. Everything is censored. It feels like a PG-13 movie, which is not how you want to present villains. Villains are bad guys that do horrible things to people, and in this movie that's changed completely because there is a lot of violence. You can see them slicing people up, blowing up people, seeing their limbs torn off, a lot of blood and gore. There is this interest scene where they send the first team, and on that first team is a Harley Quinn. She's the only one who survives. And in the rest of the team is also a bunch of villains, but they all die at the beginning of the movie. And this movie has a lot of great comedic sequences. So there's a lot of funny moments in this movie, especially that intro scene where they send the people to that beach or whatever it is, that first squad. But that actually first team was just a diversion to drag the enemies from the second team, which is the team that you follow through the rest of the movie. And the second team is made of Peacemaker, which is played by John Cena. Then there is this guy called Bloodsport. Then there is another guy that has like a little colorish bubbles all over his face, and he's probably the funniest villain of all. He like can launch these bubbles and they just dissolve everything on their way. It's like acid or something. And he explains how he got that power, that his mother was working in a lab and she infected him with that virus, and he constantly sees his mother in everyone. So whoever he sees, it's the face of his mother. And there is so many funny sequences with that guy. And then there is this big shark. He's like Hulk or something. He's just really huge and strong, and he just rips people into pieces through the movie and feeds on them. And a lot of time he fucks up the mission. Like really, a lot of time there is also a lot of funny sequences with him. So there is really a lot of cool and interesting characters and moments in this movie that made it so much better. What was really interesting for me to see in this movie is that at one point, one of the team members of Suicide Squad disagrees with the rest of the team and he wants to stay true to the mission, and he ends up killing another team member, which is something I totally did not expect, and I did not expect that character to die at all. And then after that, another team member shows up and kills him, which is again something I totally did not expect. And then after that, whoever's left, in the end, turns out to be a hero. Well, I wouldn't really say a hero, more of an anti-hero, because they still killed a lot of people. I mean, they also did try to kill them, but they're kind of still villains and you know, all that. So they're more of a anti-heroes in the end. So it was really cool transition from villains to anti-heroes. And there was really good packed up action in this movie with some really cool scenes and CGI. Storytelling was way better than the first movie, character presentation, everything. It was just much more improved than the first movie, and that's what I really loved about it. And what I loved the most is that it went above my expectations. I just expected this to be another shitty DC movie, but it turned out to be exactly opposite. And what I really also liked about this movie is its length. The movie is about 2 hours long, I think. It's a pretty long movie, and I'm glad that they actually decided to release the second movie that's not called Suicide Squad 2 or whatever, because then it would be just like the first movie, really shitty. But it is a sequel to first movie because the same characters appear, and it actually turns out that this lady that sent them on the mission is actually the main villain, kinda, because she's the one who tried to erase the evidence of Project Starfish, and she's actually the one who kinda let the American government do, like, bring that alien creature to Earth and like all that shit. She actually turns out to be bad, which was an amazing plot twist to me. I did not expect that. And it was really cool and interesting to see because she really seemed like a good person who was just in like charge of that prison where they keep all the villains and everything. It was bloody, gory, brutal, true villain movie with some extremely fun sequences, and it was so comedic sometimes you just have to laugh. You can't avoid it. So it's really cool, and I enjoyed this movie. So I'm really glad that they fixed the first movie with this one. So I would say that this is definitely a movie worth watching and checking out, especially if you're a fan of DC Comics and if you're in general a fan of superheroes, villains, and all that stuff. Check this movie out. You're probably not gonna regret it. So yeah, I think that's it. I said everything I wanted about this movie. If you enjoyed this movie review, then go ahead and leave a like, share, comment, or subscribe if you want, guys. If you don't want to, you don't have to. It's totally fine. You can also join my Chris Facebook group. I post all kind of stuff over there. Link is down below in the description. So join again if you want. If you don't want to, you don't have to. And thank you for watching. I appreciate all of your support and everything you've done for me and my channel so far. You're amazing, guys. I love you, and I'll definitely see you in the next videos. Chris out.